You're about to enter the Atomic Voodoo Lounge, New Stanton's one and only surreal dive bar, bringing you beauty and magic and terror hurts tragic. I'm Maxwell Vegas, writer, poet, musician, and author of the soon-to-be-published novel New Stanton. Descend with me into the static buzz of late-night radio, where words and music swirl through neon dreams and drift like cigarette smoke out over dried-up prehistoric seas. You've just entered New Stanton's place for a taste of the strange in poetry, fiction, and music, where the offerings come steeped in liminal noir surreal vibes. Welcome to the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast. Take your seat at the bar, relax, order a drink, enjoy the show. I'm Maxwell Vegas, and tonight we'll have a new episode of The Neon Mirage's Back Alley Noir, written by Wade, curator of the DVD Vault on Substack and Instagram, focusing on the neo-noir film Manhunter. In addition, we'll have New Stanton Noir 8, The Dried Up Prehistoric Sea, music by the Riptide Rats and Urban Surf Kings, a piece of short fiction, New Stanton Prep, which begins an alternate take on my novel New Stanton, where Harold Dean wakes up as a 10th grader in a new school, and more. So, what are you drinking? How about the Simple Empath? This cocktail is in honor of tonight's Back Alley Noir, Manhunter. This is a cool, shaken, slightly nervous cocktail with herbal clarity and a faint burn. Will Graham without the fuss. Haunted clarity. Empathy as a burden. A man trying to stay steady. Here's what you'll need. 2 ounces of gin, half an ounce lime juice, half an ounce honey, 2 dashes Angostura bitters, optionally a tiny pinch of cayenne, just a whisper like a panic spike, and garnish, mint leaf, or nothing at all. How to make it. Add gin, lime, honey, bitters, and optional cayenne to a shaker with ice. Shake hard. This drink needs that jittery energy. Strain into a coupe or rocks glass over 1 cube. Add a mint leaf if you want that bruised psyche touch. The flavors are bright, herbal, lightly sweet with a nervous edge, and the color should be a pale green gold, like a flickering fluorescent light. And enjoy. Tonight, the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast and New Stanton's Neon Mirage Theater are proud to present Back Alley Noir, written by Wade of the DVD Vault on Substack and Instagram. The Back Alley Noir series is our attempt to introduce newcomers to the world of noir and neo-noir cinema, in addition to refreshing the noir-minded of films we probably should revisit. It's just you and me now, sport. I'm gonna find you, goddammit. Ever feel that way? I know I have. Usually on a rainy night as I stare out a window. Did I just say that out loud? Well, anyway, tonight, Wade focuses his attention on the film Manhunter. Enjoy. Every time I watch Manhunter 1986, it's such an exhilarating reminder of why I love this art form so much. There are scenes that make me pump my fists and cheer, and there are even moments in which the artistry literally brings me to tears. The film, based on the 1981 Thomas Harris novel, Red Dragon, is the most stylized entry in Mann's filmography, with its synth score and soundtrack, neon color palette, and dynamic shot composition, all of which overload my senses every time. I find myself so drawn to the character of Will Graham in both the screenwriting and William Petersen's swinging for the fences performance. Graham's self-sacrificing and equally self-destructive process of putting himself in the shoes of a killer saves lives but chips away at his own well-being, and Petersen's increasingly unhinged monologuing is one of my favorite aspects of the film. Manhunter is decades ahead of its time in creating an open dialogue about work-related mental health issues, and one of my favorite scenes features Graham and his son walking through the cereal aisle while Graham explains why he had to be committed to a psychiatric ward after catching Hannibal Lecter. Not only is it incredibly progressive, but the scene also shows off all of the awesome cereals of my childhood in their colorfully boxed glory. Michael Mann films tend to follow experts being experts at what they do, which other filmmakers do as well, but what sets Mann apart is that he rarely slows down to explain things to the audience. Why would an expert bank robber, jewel thief, or FBI profiler need to have the tools of their trade explained to them? Exactly. It would sacrifice the realism. So Mann audiences have to follow along and pick up as much as they can, which usually isn't much. However, that's the magic of Mann. Like the best magicians, he's performing an illusion right in front of the audience's eyes, but doing it in fragmented bits and pieces wrapped in somewhat incomprehensible technical jargon and procedural elements. When all the pieces come together, it's the equivalent of the Prestige, in which the vanished rabbit reappears and the audience is floored. Manhunter's Prestige moment is such a beautiful crescendo of everything the extremely empathetic Will Graham has had to put himself through by stepping into a killer's mind to try and save another family from tragedy. Not only that, but there's also a completely bonkers climactic moment only minutes afterwards that reaches nearly the same heights. It breaks my heart that Manhunter was so misunderstood in its time and still hasn't fully gotten its due. Wade is a lit major and an educator who shares and discusses films through the physical media they're printed on. And he has an impressive movie library of over 2,400 films, probably more than that by now. Every weekend the number goes up. For more of his insightful cinematic discussions, please visit his DVD vault at dvdvault.substack.com. Here come the Urban Surf Kings with Undercover Overcoat from Electric Buffalo, 2024. Urban Surf Kings. Check them out on Bandcamp. Some of their stuff is also available on Apple Music and Spotify. New Stanton Noir 8, The Dried Up Prehistoric Sea. This series of 6-word stories explores the dried up prehistoric sea that exists behind the Starlight Inn. It's my attempt to hint at or retell Harold Dean's experiences as he goes out and into and over that prehistoric sea. New Stanton Noir 8, The Dried Up Prehistoric Sea. Rex, poolside, staring, deep-end dreams. Don't lose sight of the starlight, Mr. Dean. Do deeper ends justify psychic archaeology? Dark birds over an erstwhile sea. 3 sisters, outlines crossing radioactive TVs. Rum, cigarettes, sand, thirst, and need. The skull's southern hemispheric night journey. Black velvet hands beckoning, leading, unseen. Over the brambled dunes, maze-like misery. Eventually, to fall on bended knee, excavating tokens, signs, the erstwhile me. To discover shell and feather simplicity. Father and daughter weaving unfinished stories. Desiccated prehistoric oceans hiding atomic reveries. The starlight no longer behind me. Lost in the wilderness, questioning reality, understanding circles truly define all journeys. One of the truly rewarding and interesting parts of doing this podcast, aside from the tons of money that I'm raking in, is coming into contact with a variety of different writers, poets, and musicians. And over the course of the last 8 or 9 months, I've really developed a deep relationship with the Riptide Rats, a surf band out of Sweden, of all places. And they asked me a while back to do some introductions, some narrations for the beginnings of some of their songs. And they released this as an EP called Coastline Chaos, Maxwell Vegas Introductions, 2026. Here is the title track, Coastline Chaos. He arrived in a 1964 Chevy Malibu and stood, board in hand, surveying the sun-soaked disorder, the wordless tumult of humanity on the very edge of the churning abyss. And instead of turning away, he launched himself into the chaos. Riptide Rats with Coastline Chaos off of Coastline Chaos EP, the Maxwell Vegas introductions. Check out the Riptide Rats on Bandcamp, Apple Music, and Spotify. In my novel, Newsstand, my main character, Mr. Harold Dean, wakes up in a dingy motel called the Starlight Inn, in a town that's outside of reality called Newsstand. Well, I'm trying an experiment here where I've taken the premise of the novel and I transplanted it into the setting of a high school in Newsstand called New Stanton Prep. Here are 3 of the first short chapters. New Stanton Prep. Because there's a little Harold Dean in all of us. 1. Ever wake up in school? Not like you fell asleep during some boring lecture, but like you just woke up and you were in school. And the school wasn't your school or any school you'd ever been to. You just woke up and you were sitting across from some bald guy tapping a red binder. One long finger just tap, tap, tapping. Well, yeah, it happened to me. Harold Dean, student unextraordinaire, a bundle of bad habits wrapped in a school uniform that made me look more like an undertaker than a 10th grade student. Really, what school kid wears a skinny black tie, white shirt, and black suit? Oh, and the guy sitting across from me, that was Dr. Vine, sinister principal and gatekeeper, but more about him later. What really freaked me out wasn't just the idea of waking up in a strange school before a strange principal sitting in front of a strange window, but the sky behind Dr. Vine's bald head. Night, day, morning, evening, whatever time it might have been, the sky shone with an eerie glow, just jumbled electronic snow, throbbing radioactive interference like a TV screen that wasn't broadcasting anything. Excuse me, Dr. Vine? Why am I here? You're here? Well, because you're here, he said with another tap of his bony finger. Yeah, but why? I'm a little confused and I don't feel very well. Outside the window, a green flare pulsed across the sky, backlighting the principal's skull with an electron halo. Dr. Vine exhaled a long breath and pushed his chair back. His head never moved, only his body, as he produced a mirror. Now, why a principal would have a mirror under his desk was a mystery, but it certainly wasn't the biggest. There was that thing with the sky, and of course, waking up in a weird school kind of topped the list. Perhaps, Mr. Dean, you don't feel well because of this, the good doctor said with another snort and held the mirror up to my face. And there I was, all right, Harold Dean, sporting a swollen nose and a bruised left cheek, dried blood crusted over my nostrils, and red tangled veins laced the whites of my eyes. Now, maybe that explains your dis-ease, Mr. Dean. Should have seen the other guy, I said, my joke going nowhere fast. Am I in trouble or something? Well, now, that is a loaded question. He set down the mirror and leaned back. You've been sent here for safekeeping and perhaps a bit of remediation. Yeah, about that. I touched my nose and then my eye, searching for the tender spots. About that. Where exactly am I? I mean, what school is this? How did I get here? Welcome to New Stanton Prep, Mr. Dean. Dr. Vine stood and reached for his cane. But what about... Pointing toward the door, he smiled like a serpent, his eyes flashing yellow. Not an easy school to get into, he said. But we have you now. Never fear. As I turned to go, a red-headed woman in a green dress stood waiting for me. She smiled, and I noticed a golden caduceus on her lapel. I know, big word, caduceus. But you've seen it your whole life. It's the medical symbol of two snakes twisting up a pole topped with wings. Nurse Sonia, see that Harold gets cleaned up and then take him to Mr. Charles for his interview. Okay, Mr. Bruiser, this way. The woman gestured, her red nails like beacon fires, pointing down the dim, flickering hallway. Let's get you taken care of. 2. Nurse Sonia stared into my face as she wiped away blood and crust, examining each bruise with green-eyed intent and tender cotton ball care. Well, Mr. Bruiser, looks like you got yourself into a real tangle. Exactly what happened? Wait, don't tell me. You asked out the wrong girl? I don't know what happened, I said. She put her supplies away in a flurry of clicks and snaps. My band was playing this Halloween dance. I wasn't even dressed like this. I had on a trench coat and nothing but, well, never mind. Last thing I remember, this girl, she had a camera and wanted to take my picture. I knew it. I just knew it, Nurse Sonia said with a shake of her auburn hair. No, nothing like that. The girl just took my picture, and the flash was like lightning or something. So strange, like the flash cracked me open and let something out or in. I don't know. Hard to explain. Now I'm here, wherever this is, whoever you are, and that principal. Do you want the good news or the bad? Nurse Sonia asked. Is there a difference today? Yeah, good question, she said, guiding me toward the mirror above a stainless steel sink. I don't know either. It gets really confusing around here at times, but my advice is not to have more to do with Dr. Vine than necessary. Mr. Charles, the counselor, now he's a good guy. Do I know you or something? I feel like I know you from somewhere. Running her hands across my jacket, she said, and the good news is, you'll live, I think. That doesn't really answer my question. Answers mine. Nurse Sonia smiled. Somehow, I wasn't sure she was actually happy. 3. Mr. Dean, I'm here to help, Mr. Charles said as I entered his small windowless office, which resembled something more like a roadside attraction than a counseling center. Comic book style pictures plastered the walls, skateboarders, guitars, a man in a black suit staring into a mushroom cloud. Behind him, a red neon sign buzzed, point A to point B. A dusty gumball machine sat in the corner, the kind with a big silver dial that gave out prizes instead of candy. Welcome, he said, and extended a hand toward an empty chair. Sit, please. His slate gray eyes lifted, looking past me to Nurse Sonia, who stood in the hall just beyond the door. Dr. Vine wants an initial interview, she said. The usual, I guess. She drummed her fingernails on the metal door jamb. He looks a bit rough, but despite the bumps, Mr. Bruiser here is fit to be enrolled. Good luck to both of you, especially you, Chaz. Always caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Mr. Charles leaned way back and locked his hands behind his head. You know what old Petro would say, don't you? For a second, I swear, the Saturn-like pin in the middle of his tie pulsed red, like glowed on its own without reflecting any light at all. Of course, Sonia said, and I could literally hear her smile the same unhappy smile she gave me in the sickbay. Where would you rather be? Who could forget that? Exactly, Mr. Charles said, arching even farther back under his neon sign. The real question is, where is he now? Nurse Sonia said. Exactly. This routine was so typical. Teachers have this way of talking around things in front of students, hinting at more than what's said, like little inside jokes meant to leave everyone on the outskirts of the real story. And I'd just be willing to bet some of those teachers didn't even know the real story themselves, but simply played along, all nods and winks and goofy smiles. Reminded me of a book I read where a teenage kid goes around and calls all the adults phony. But that's not even it, really. In my book, if I ever write one, everyone will be a phony right down to little babies, right down to whoever I am. Nurse Sonia's heels clicked away down the hall, and Mr. Charles leaned forward into the desk, placing his chin on two closed fists, the skin of his clean-shaven face pockmarked and texturized by ancient acne. He waited silently without moving until a metallic clang reverberated in the distance. Mr. Charles, I finally said after waiting a small eternity, I'm glad you're here to help because, honestly, I don't know where I am and I don't know how I got here. Interesting. He lifted one finger to the neon sign above his head. A smile stretched across his bumpy face. Well, Mr. Dean, New Stanton Prep specializes in getting people from point A to point B. Yeah, but the point is, Mr. Dean, you're here because you lost the point, Mr. Charles said, returning to his chin-resting pose. You fell through the cracks and in between. But don't worry, we all have in one way or another, I'm afraid, and trying to keep track of points is useless to begin with. There are more than you can even count between A and B, let alone between A and Z or whatever. You're the school counselor, right? Or did I miss something? I don't like the term counselor. Sure, I do those types of things, but I prefer concierge. Much more elegant, don't you think? I'm here to help. Well, help me understand where I am and how I get back home, if you don't mind. First things first, Mr. Charles said, as he began rifling through his desk drawers, producing a shower of comic books and odd pens and quite a few keys on plastic motel fobs. 1 second, please. And then he withdrew a long clipboard from some nether region nook and selected a light greenish-blue fob from the pile on his desk. Picking up one of the odd pens, he clicked it and then licked the point. Yes, now, the initial interview, just a formality, and then we'll get you on your way, Mr. Charles said. Now. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Should I continue? Yes, no, maybe. I have big news. The proof copies of my novel New Stanton have finally arrived, and they look pretty darn good to me. So, you know what that means. Stay tuned for when and where to buy your copy. So for now, here's the trailer. Coming soon from Heavy Sixer Productions, New Stanton, a novel by Maxwell Vegas. Mr. Harold Dean, a shady alcoholic, just woke up with one hell of a hangover at the Starlight Inn, New Stanton's dingy motel. The only problem is, New Stanton doesn't exist. Join Mr. Dean on this postmodern night journey through buried memories, liminal spaces, and treachery as he searches for his sole means of escape, a blue 1964 Chevy Malibu. Will he be able to find his car before the evil Dr. Freytag does? Can Mr. Dean trust a host of bizarre characters to help him solve the mysteries of his own dysfunction and accept that New Stanton is exactly where he needs to be? The answer to these questions and many more lies scattered across New Stanton, a town that sits on the edge of a dried-up prehistoric sea, a town that exists inside and down. Thanks for listening to the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast. I'm Maxwell Vegas, the Simple Empath, at the impasse between points A and B. Atomic Voodoo Lounge also has a podcast playlist on Apple and Spotify, so look that up if you're interested in some of the music we've been playing. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe at atomicvoodoolounge.com. Did I mention it's free? Oh, yeah, I have, about a bazillion times. And spread the good word. And if you are interested in contributing or being a sponsor, drop me a line and we can discuss the particulars. And don't forget, our 6-word noir challenge is open to subscribers via the Atomic Voodoo Lounge chat. So check out Atomic Voodoo Lounge on Substack and subscribe. Find out more about Maxwell Vegas and Heavy Sixer Productions at HeavySixerProductions.com or MaxwellVegas.com. Big thank yous to the Riptide Rats and Urban Surf Kings, as well as Wade, the curator of the DVD Vault on Substack and Instagram. Some sound effects and music used under Creative Commons license. All words and music composed, read, programmed, and or performed by Maxwell Vegas, unless otherwise stated. All text, music, and performances copyright Heavy Sixer Productions, LLC 2026. No AI training, please. And remember, AtomicVoodooLounge.com.